Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a huge battle for the future of Ethereum. This is a big deal, a tech rivalry that could completely change how we use the internet. It's all about speed, security, and this crazy race to make the blockchain kinda disappear. So why should you care about any of this? Well, let's start with this number, $5.48. That's what it cost on average, just to do a simple token swap on Ethereum's mainnet when we looked. I mean, that's slow, it's super expensive, and honestly, it's a huge roadblock for anyone trying to actually use this stuff.
Okay, now, look at this number, a tiny fraction of a penny. That's the cost to do a simple transfer using something called a ZK rollup. The difference here is just, wow, it's staggering. And this is why we have the war we're about to dive into.
That massive cost difference, that's the entire battlefield. It's why two absolute giants, zkSync and Polygon, are in this all-out race to hyperscale Ethereum. And they're both betting on the same wild technology to get there, zero-knowledge proofs. This is their shot at winning the future.
All right, so before we get to the contenders themselves, we got to quickly talk about the tech they're both using. You have to understand this piece because it's pretty much the magic that makes the whole thing work. So the key difference here is how you check if a transaction is legit. You've got these older things called optimistic rollups. They basically just assume everything's fine unless someone raises their hand and says, hey, wait a minute. The problem is that challenge period can take days. ZK rollups, they're the total opposite. They don't assume anything. They use some seriously heavy-duty math to prove that every single transaction is valid, right from the get-go. And what does that mean for you? Near instant withdrawals. And it gets even more interesting. Even inside the world of ZK, there are flavors to choose from. You've got snarks, which are tiny and cheap to put on the blockchain, but they come with a few security asterisks. Then you've got starks. They're bigger, a bit more expensive, but they're seen as super secure, even against quantum computers down the line. This one choice has a massive impact on how these teams build everything.
All right, let's get to it. First up, Team zkSync. Their whole strategy is about building this massive, sprawling, parallel system they call the elastic network. The core of their plan is this thing they call hyperchains. The best way to think about it is like a Lego set for building blockchains. It gives anyone a toolkit to spin up their own specialized chain. So you could have a chain just for gaming, another one just for finance, a third for social media, whatever you want. And the cool part is they're all customized, but they can all talk to each other perfectly, all under the same security umbrella of the main zkSync ecosystem.
Now, this is where it gets really cool. Their secret weapon is something called the Airbender prover. This was a total redesign of their whole system. They basically made it so the code that's running is the exact same code that's being cryptographically proven. I know it sounds a little in the weeds, but the takeaway is simple. It gave them a ridiculous boost in speed and flexibility. And you can really see the impact of that change right here. I mean, look at this. They went from maybe a couple hundred transactions per second to a theoretical max of 43,000. That's insane. And check out the finality time, from minutes down to about 1 second. That's not just an improvement, that's a total game changer. Okay, so that's zkSync. Now let's pivot and look at Polygon. They're coming at this from a completely different angle. Instead of helping people create new chains, their focus is on connecting all the different chains that are already out there. Their solution is called the Ag Layer, and it's designed to fix one of the most annoying problems in crypto today, fragmented liquidity. You know, where your money gets stuck on one chain and you can't easily use it on another? The Ag Layer is meant to be a kind of universal translator or bridge, connecting everything into one big unified network where money can flow freely.
So how do you secure a network of a bunch of different chains? Well, they came up with this really clever idea called pessimistic proofs. The name says it all. The system is basically pessimistic. It assumes that any one of the chains connected to it could go rogue at any moment. This way, if one chain gets hacked, it can't just drain all the money from the entire system. The damage is contained. It's a really smart security model.
But Polygon's real ace in the hole is what they call a Type 1 prover. This is like the holy grail of compatibility. Seriously, this tech is amazing. It's so powerful, it can create a ZK proof for pretty much any existing Ethereum-style chain. And get this, the developers don't have to change a single line of their code. That makes it incredibly easy to upgrade huge established projects to have all the security benefits of ZK. Okay, so we've got two very different game plans for scaling Ethereum.
how do they actually compare head-to-head on the stuff that really matters?
Let's start with cost. And yeah, the numbers here really tell the story. That new Airbender architecture from zkSync gives them a huge advantage. Look at token swaps. We're talking fractions of a cent on zkSync versus a couple of bucks on Polygon's current system. That's a big difference.
And what about raw speed? Again, zkSync's design, which is really built for tons of small payments, shows some mind-blowing numbers in their tests. Now, of course, real-world performance is always different, but the potential here is just on another level compared to the competition.
But hey, speed isn't the only thing that matters, right? Decentralization is a huge piece of the puzzle. And this is where zkSync has made a really interesting choice. They focused on making sure their provers, those are the computers doing all the hard math, can run on regular consumer hardware, like the kind of graphics card you might have in your gaming PC. This means more people can actually participate in running the network, which is a big contrast to Polygon, which currently requires some pretty beefy enterprise-level machines.
So let's zoom out for a second. Beyond just speed and cost, what's the ultimate goal here? It's really about building a better, safer, and easier-to-use foundation for the entire internet.
At the end of the day, the number one question you're probably asking is my money safe? Well, zkSync has a really powerful answer for that. It's called Exodus mode. Basically, if the people running the network ever disappear or try to block you, this mode kicks in, and you can just grab your funds directly from the main Ethereum blockchain. It's a super important escape hatch that guarantees you're always in control.
Now, for the people actually building stuff on this, the choice is really interesting. With Polygon, it's super easy. Most apps that already exist on Ethereum can just move over no problem. zkSync, on the other hand, takes a little more work to get started. But, and this is a big but, it opens the door to some awesome new features, like something called native account abstraction. All that really means is you can have way better user experiences. Think logging in with your Face ID instead of messing with a clunky crypto wallet. You know, what's kind of wild is that even though they're taking such different paths, both of these projects are actually heading towards a very similar destination. The future they see isn't one giant blockchain that does everything. Instead, it's this huge interconnected web of many different blockchains, all working together and all leaning on the security of Ethereum.
So this whole rivalry, this whole war, it's not just about which tech is better. It's really a race to make the blockchain itself completely invisible, to make it so easy to use that you don't even think about it. And that leads me to one last question for you to think about. If they succeed, if transactions become instant and basically free, what does blockchain even mean to the average person? Will they even know it's there?